All right, let's jump into the exciting world of stunt performing. For this deep dive, you've sent over some fascinating material about the training.
Oh, yeah, some really interesting stuff.
We've got the Robbins Stunt Team Bootcamp application,
Okay.
an article from Backstage called How to Become a Stuntman,
Right.
and a super detailed FAQ from slamartist.com.
Wow, that's a great mix of resources.
It is. So let's break it all down. What does it really take to become a stunt performer? From the basics all the way to those super specialized skills.
You know, one thing that really stands out to me, even before we get into, like, the crazy stunts, is this common thread in all three sources.
Okay.
This emphasis on mindset.
Oh, interesting.
Preparation. It's more than just being like, oh, I'm not afraid of anything.
Right. So it's not just about being fearless. It's more about being calculated, being smart.
Exactly. And starting with this awareness of just how competitive this industry is. Like, just look at that Robbins Stunt Team application.
Yeah.
It's first come, first served.
Wow.
They're not messing around.
So if you snooze, you lose when it comes to training with the best.
Basically, yeah. And to even apply for the boot camp, you have to be over 18, you have to have a driver's license, and you need to be in excellent physical condition. And that's just the beginning.
That's just to get your foot in the door.
It's like the initial filter. You know, like, are you serious or not?
Right.
And then there's that $50 application fee.
Oh, yeah.
And it has a hard deadline of February 6, 2025 to pay it.
Wow, so they're serious about this.
They mean business?
They're not letting anybody in.
No.
Plus, they want a full-body photo and a resume for a boot camp.
Right. It emphasizes how crucial presentation is, like right from the get-go.
So even at this early stage, they're looking for professionalism.
Oh, yeah. Being able to present yourself well is huge.
And of course, you can't forget that waiver.
Right. You're basically acknowledging right off the bat that there are risks involved.
So it kind of sets this tone of, this is serious business.
Yeah, it's like a reality check. Like, hey, this is not a job for the faint of heart. There are real dangers, even within this controlled training environment.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about the bootcamp basics.
Yeah.
Now let's get into that Backstage article.
Okay.
I mean, think of those jaw-dropping stunts in movies.
Yeah.
There's an actual human being behind all of those insane stunts.
Yeah, risking their neck to make that action look incredible.
Putting their life on the line. And the article does a great job of distinguishing between a stunt double and a stunt performer because it's not always obvious to the viewer.
It isn't.
Right.
It can be confusing.
Like in Spy and the Boss.
Yeah.
There's this amazing stunt woman, Lucy Romberg, who doubles for Melissa McCarthy.
Oh, wow.
And that brings us to this really important point.
Okay.
Stunt performers aren't just daredevils.
No.
Right. They're movement professionals. They're actors.
Exactly.
They have to embody the characters they're doubling.
They do. And they make those falls look, well, as Lucy says, gnarly.
And they're working these incredibly long hours on set, like 8 to 20-hour days, with only a fraction at a time actually spent filming.
That's a lot of waiting around.
It is.
The article actually uses this interesting term, being burned.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And that's basically if your face is clearly visible in a shot, you could be out of work for the rest of that film.
Ouch.
Because continuity is king in filmmaking.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And that brings us to, I mean, there's just this massive range of skills you need.
Yeah, there is.
We're talking stage combat, sword work, falls, gymnastics, horseback riding, driving. I mean, the list just goes on.
It's a lot.
It's overwhelming. And Lucy Romberg actually says, when I go to work, I light myself on fire, I jump through glass windows, hang from helicopters, and get blasted by cars.
Oh, my God.
I mean, come on, that's so cool.
That is so cool.
But of course, that level of coolness does come with a price tag.
Right.
The article talks about how you need to constantly be training, you need to be networking. They even suggest hitting up parkour gyms, just like this stunt woman, Jessica Aaron Bennett, does.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's like treating it as any professional athletic career, dedication and consistent effort.
Absolutely. And they even suggest studying classic stunt movies.
Right, that's cool.
To see how the techniques have evolved.
So basically film school.
Film school, yeah. Okay, so we've talked about the general athleticism needed. Now let's get into the specialized skills.
Okay.
This is where things get really interesting.
I know.
Fighting, falling, driving, agility, water skills, and probably a whole bunch more.
So much to learn. And the article highlights how important it is to find your area of expertise.
Oh, okay.
But to also round out your skills. They quote Maddie Curley and Greg Sargent, who are both professionals in the industry.
Okay, that makes sense. So like maybe you're the go-to underwater stunt person.
Right.
But you can still handle yourself in a sword fight or a high fall.
Exactly. You want to be versatile.
Versatility is so important. And even with zero professional experience, the article talks about how you should be prepping your headshot,
Oh, okay.
your resume, and
Yeah.
even a stunt reel,
Wow.
which seems crazy when you haven't even started working yet.
It does, but I guess it shows commitment and proactiveness. Like you're building your career from scratch, just like any other job.
Right.
You're building that portfolio.
And it emphasizes networking because, as Lucy Romberg says, everyone gets into stunt work differently.
It's about those connections and finding your own path. I like that.
And sometimes that path leads to becoming a body double for a lead actor, which, I mean, that could be huge for your career.
Yeah. Like the article mentions James Franco's stunt double, Pat Millin, and Brie Larson's stunt doubles.
Oh, wow.
It's about building trust.
Building that relationship with the actors. Yeah. Now, a big question that comes up for a lot of aspiring stunt performers is whether or not to join SAG-AFTRA, the union. The article goes into some of the pros and cons, mentioning, of course, the higher pay and benefits that come with a union job.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But they also acknowledge that non-union work can be super valuable, especially early on in your career.
And for the experience.
For the experience, yeah. So it's kind of a balancing act.
It is.
You know, when you're weighing the security of a union job with the opportunities of non-union work. But we do have to talk about the dangers,
Yeah.
because they're very real in this profession. The article brings up some tragic examples, such as the death of Joy Harris on the set of Deadpool 2
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
and John Bernicker on The Walking Dead.
Right. It's a sobering reminder that even with safety protocols, accidents can still happen.
They do. And veteran stuntman Eddie Braun, who, as you might recall, famously recreated Evil Knievel's jump over Snake River Canyon.
I remember that.
He emphasizes how important, quote, manners and people skills are in this industry.
That makes sense, though, right? It's all about collaboration and trust because you're literally putting your life in each other's hands.
Yeah. Now, the article mentions an average salary of around $69,442 annually. But that, it can vary greatly.
Oh, really?
From $17,000 to six figures.
Wow, that's quite a range.
It is. It depends on your experience, types of stunts you do, union versus non-union work. And, of course, there's always a little bit of luck involved.
Always.
Now, just like athletes, stunt performers do have to consider what happens when their body just can't take those hits anymore.
Yeah, it's the physical job.
Yeah. The article compares it to an athlete's career. Aging can lead to coaching or taking on different roles within the industry.
Right, like transitioning to stunt coordination. Or directing, like Chad Stahelski, who went from stuntman to directing the John Wick films.
Or even, some stunt performers go on to become actors, like Jackie Chan.
Wow. That's amazing. So they recognize that physically performing stunts has a limited lifespan?
It does.
It's not forever?
But they have this plan for what they're going to do next.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered the Backstage article. Now let's move on to SlamArtist.com's crazy comprehensive FAQ.
Yes. This thing is packed with info.
It covers just about everything, from training and safety protocols to career paths and even common injuries you might encounter.
It is truly a wealth of information, and it's actually available in multiple languages.
Oh, wow. So they recognize that this industry is global.
It is. Action movies are a universal language.
They really are.
And they break down the skills you need into physical, mental, and additional categories, like acting and teamwork, right?
Right. So it reinforces that idea that to succeed in this career, you can't just be physically strong.
Yeah.
You need that mental toughness.
You have to be a team player.
Yeah.
You need to be adaptable.
Absolutely.
And they cover a whole range of training options, from stunt schools and workshops to online courses, mentorship programs. You name it, they've got it.
That's great. There's something out there for everyone then.
Exactly. And then, of course, we have to talk about safety.
Oh, of course. That's crucial.
And this FAQ dives deep. I mean, they cover pre-stunt meetings, risk assessments, rehearsals, safety equipment like helmets, harnesses, crash mats. They even talk about emergency preparedness.
Wow. They really do cover everything.
They do. And they have this really great analogy. They compare stunt work to being a magician.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. It's all about creating the illusion of danger while minimizing the actual risk.
That's a perfect comparison. It really highlights the calculated nature of stunt work.
It does.
It's not just recklessness. It's controlled and planned.
Right. And the career opportunities they list are pretty extensive, too. Film, television, live shows, theme parks, motion capture. I mean, it's not just limited to Hollywood either.
Right. It extends to all kinds of entertainment industries all over the world.
And of course, they highlight the importance of networking,
Yeah, of course.
joining stunt associations, and creating a strong portfolio.
Yeah, because that portfolio is like your calling card, right?
It is.
It's your chance to show what you can do.
To show off your unique skills and experience. And they even give you an idea of what a typical day might look like. Training, rehearsals, filming, safety checks, actual performance, and then recovery.
That's a lot packed into one day. And it sounds like you have to be flexible and adaptable.
Because no 2 days are the same.
That's true.
You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And they talk about injuries,
Oh, yeah.
which are obviously a part of the job. They list some of the more common ones. Bruises, sprains, fractures, dislocations, cuts, concussions, and even burns.
Wow. It's a reminder that even with all the safety measures, there's a physical toll.
There is. But they balance that out by talking about rest, physical therapy, pain management, and preventative care. It's about taking care of your body so you can have a long career.
Makes sense.
And you know what? They even have advice for parents of aspiring stunt performers.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect that.
Yeah. It's really thoughtful. They recommend doing research, talking with professionals, and having a balanced approach where education is just as important as training.
Yeah, because it's more than just physical ability.
Right. Okay. This is where it gets interesting. They introduced something called the warp cam.
What's that?
It's a camera system that was actually developed by stunt professionals
Oh, wow.
to capture dynamic action.
So it's specifically designed for this kind of work.
It is.
I wonder what that looks like.
Yeah. And they emphasize how being proficient in operating the warp cam can actually make you more valuable and marketable.
It's like, it's a new skill.
It is. It's a new tool in your tool belt.
It's interesting how technology is always evolving in the stunt industry,
It is.
and how staying ahead of the curve gives you an advantage.
Absolutely. Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
I mean, we went through all three of these resources.
Yeah.
But now let's take a step back. What are some of the big takeaways? What does it really take to become a stunt performer?
Yeah, there's so much information here. We need to break it down.
We do. What are the recurring themes?
Okay, let's do it.
So we just went through a ton of information.
We did. It's a lot to process.
It is. But if we kind of take a step back, what are those big takeaways here?
Right.
Like, what does it really take to make it as a stunt performer? What are those crucial elements?
Well, one thing that really jumps out to me from all three sources is this need for a powerful combo of things.
No.
Like physical skills, right? You need mental toughness, and you need a deep understanding of how films are made.
Almost like a three-legged stool. If one of those legs is missing, you're not going to stay balanced for very long.
Exactly. And then diving into the physical side, it's not even just like, oh, are you strong? Are you athletic?
No, it's so much more than that.
It's about this diverse range of specific skills.
It's like that laundry list from the Slam Artist FAQ.
Oh, yeah. Martial arts, gymnastics, driving, swimming, climbing, parkour.
I mean, it never ends.
It's crazy. And it's not enough to be like, oh, I'm okay at this. I'm kind of good at that.
Right. It's got to be more than just good.
Versatility is key.
It's like Maddie Curley, who we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
the gymnast from that Backstage article.
Yeah, what about her?
Well, she specializes in gymnastics, but she also does CrossFit, sword training, and stunt fighting.
Wow, so she's not limiting herself.
Nope.
It makes her much more valuable to have all of those skills.
Absolutely. But then
Yeah.
you've got that mental side, which I think is often overlooked.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
People don't really think about that.
The mental game is huge, EE.
Yeah.
You need to be able to handle pressure, stay calm in really dangerous situations. You have to think quickly on your feet.
And be okay with those long hours on set. Sudden changes, lots of unpredictability.
Oh, yeah, it's not always glamorous. The Slammertus FAQ used a phrase I really like: emotional resilience.
I like that.
That's what it takes to not just survive, but to actually thrive in this industry.
You have to have that toughness. Because, let's be real, you're not jumping out of an exploding building every day.
That's true.
Right. Sometimes it's 10 hours of waiting around for like one quick fall.
Oh, yeah, the reality of the job. And then there's that third leg of the stool, understanding the filmmaking process.
Yeah. Understanding how it all comes together.
Yeah. The Backstage article talked about how stunt performers are basically movement professionals. They're telling a story through their actions.
Oh, that's a cool way to think about it.
It is. It's just like how actors use dialogue.
Right. And you know what? It makes me think of those behind-the-scenes documentaries.
Yeah.
When you see the stunt team working so closely with the director.
Right. Figuring it out.
Just like a carefully choreographed dance.
Exactly. And knowing how things will translate on camera is really crucial. Understanding camera angles, editing, how that stunt fits into the overall scene.
So it's not just about doing the stunt, it's about doing it in a way that makes sense for the story and looks incredible on screen.
Absolutely. It all has to come together. And, this is where I think those specialized camera systems like the warp cam come in.
Oh, right. The game changer.
Imagine capturing those high-action moments from totally new angles.
Giving the audience that front row seat.
Yeah.
Making them feel like they're part of the action.
I know. It's so cool to see how technology is changing what's possible.
Absolutely. But, speaking of pushing boundaries, we can't really ignore safety.
No, absolutely not.
It feels like every source we looked at emphasized how important this is.
It is. I mean, it's non-negotiable.
Yeah. Safety is the foundation upon which everything else is built.
It's everything.
And the Slam Artist FAQ goes into such crazy detail.
Oh, yeah. It's like their safety manual.
Right. Pre-stunt meetings, risk assessments, rehearsals, safety equipment, emergency preparedness.
They've got it all. It's not just about ticking the boxes, though, right?
Right.
It's a mindset.
Right. It's that analogy of the magician.
Oh, yeah. I like that analogy.
Creating the illusion of danger, but minimizing the actual risk.
It's about calculated risks, right? Careful planning, being aware of your surroundings and potential hazards.
But sadly, even with all those precautions, accidents can still happen.
Yeah, that's true.
We talked about the deaths of Joy Harris and John Bernecker. Harsh reminders that this isn't a job for those who are reckless or impulsive.
No, it's not. It's for people who understand and respect the dangers, who prioritize safety above all else.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's say you've got the physical skills, you've got that mental fortitude,
Okay.
and that unwavering commitment to safety. How do you actually break into this crazy competitive industry?
Yeah.
What's that path to actually becoming a stunt performer?
Yeah, because there isn't really like a set path, right?
No, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of career.
But thankfully, all of the sources we looked at offer some really valuable insights.
They do.
Yeah.
So let's start with training. The Slam Artist FAQ mentions this whole range of options.
Oh, yeah.
From spent schools, workshops, online courses, mentorship programs. It seems like there's something for everyone.
Really? And no matter how you prefer to learn or what your budget is?
That's true. And then there's the International Stunt School, which seems like a pretty big deal.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
Their website is super impressive. Rigorous curriculum. They cover everything from basic falls and rolls to high falls, wire work.
Wow, they cover a lot.
They even have acting classes.
Oh, interesting.
And their list of film and TV credits is just insane.
Really?
It's crazy.
So their graduates are landing jobs.
They are. Clearly, they have a good reputation.
Yeah.
But it's not the only option.
Mm.
That Backstage article also mentioned other stunt training centers, like the Stunt Performers Academy and Tempest Academy.
Okay.
So it's worth checking out, what each one offers. And of course, they emphasize networking,
Yeah.
going to industry events,
Yeah.
building relationships with working stunt professionals.
It's all about those connections. Because as Lucy Romberg says, everyone gets into stunt work differently.
Right. It's not like follow steps 1, 2, and 3, and then boom, you're a stunt performer.
Right. There's no magic formula.
It's more about being in the right place at the right time.
It is.
And having that right set of skills. The Backstage article had a couple of examples I thought were interesting.
Okay, tell me.
Like there's this research analyst.
A research analyst.
Yeah. He landed a role in The Dark Knight Rises.
Wow.
Just from a backstage casting call.
Really?
And it turns out he had this background in martial arts and weapons training.
Oh, okay. So they needed someone specific.
Exactly.
And he fit the bill.
He had the right skills at the right time. And then there was this arena football player who landed a gig as a stunt double in Woodlawn because of his, athleticism.
Oh, cool. So they're really pulling from these different backgrounds.
They are.
It's not just like you have to have come from a certain place.
Exactly. It's about leveraging your existing talents. But even with all that training and networking, you still need a way to show what you can do.
Right. You have to have proof.
And the Slam Artist FAQ really emphasizes a strong portfolio.
Oh, yeah. Your work.
And of course, a well-made stunt reel.
Right. You've got to show them.
It's your calling card.
Your resume.
It is. And even if you don't have, a ton of credits,
Right.
you can still create a reel that highlights those abilities.
Absolutely.
At the International Stunt School's website mentioned something I thought was really interesting.
Okay.
A lot of live stunt shows actually recruit directly from their program.
Oh, wow. So you could land a job right out of school.
You could. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So now you're faced with another decision. Should I join the union or not?
Right. That's a big one.
It is. And the Backstage article does a good job of weighing the pros and cons of joining SAG-AFTRA.
Yeah. Of course, you've got higher pay, better benefits, more protection for performers.
Right. But like we talked about earlier, there's value in those non-union jobs too.
Especially when you're just starting out.
Exactly.
It's all about finding that balance.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about training, we've talked about networking, putting together that portfolio, deciding whether or not to join a union.
Is there anything else that aspiring stunt performers should keep in mind as they go down this crazy path?
A major point that came up a lot in the sources is this need for continuous learning and professional development.
So it's not just about learning the basics and then you're good.
No, it's a constant thing. You've got to stay sharp.
You've got to keep up with the industry.
Exactly. New techniques are always coming out. Safety standards are constantly evolving.
Right.
And technology is always influencing how stunts are performed and filmed.
It's a fast-moving world.
It is.
Yeah.
And, it's like we talked about earlier with that webcam.
Yeah.
That's changing things.
It's a great example of how technology is shaping this industry.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to stay up to date or you're going to get left behind.
Exactly.
And that means go to workshops, taking courses.
Right. Joining professional organizations.
Connecting with other stunt professionals.
It's all about being a lifelong learner. Always looking for ways to improve your skills.
Absolutely. And of course, staying healthy.
Oh, yeah. Taking care of your body. Because, those injuries are bound to happen.
They are. That Slammertist FAQ had a whole section on dealing with all the common stunt-related injuries.
Oh, yeah. It was a long list.
Bruises, sprains, fractures, and concussions.
It can be serious. They really stress the importance of rest, physical therapy, pain management, preventative care.
It's all about treating your body right so you can have a long career.
Exactly.
But, with all this talk about injuries and risks, you have to wonder, is it even worth it?
Yeah, it's a valid question.
I mean, this is not a career for everyone.
It's not.
This takes a special kind of person to willingly put themselves in harm's way, even if it is, calculated.
It's a certain personality.
Right. But I think for those who are really drawn to this work, it's more than just a job.
It's a passion.
It's a lifestyle.
A way of life.
It's almost an art form.
It is.
They're the ones who really thrive on pushing their limits.
Mm-hmm.
They love that challenge of creating those breathtaking moments.
Mm-hmm.
And they find a lot of fulfillment in bringing those scenes to life.
And let's be honest, it's a pretty cool job.
I mean, who hasn't imagined themselves jumping out of a burning building?
Or doing a crazy car chase.
It's the stuff of childhood dreams.
It really is.
And for some people, those dreams actually become a reality.
I know. It's awesome.
But, with all that excitement and the adrenaline, you can't forget, it is a tough business.
It is.
The competition is really fierce.
Yeah. And the work isn't always consistent.
It can be pretty sporadic.
It's not your typical 9 to 5. And like we talked about, there are real risks involved.
Yeah, there are. So if you're thinking about going down this path, it's important to go in with your eyes wide open.
Yeah. Understanding the rewards and the challenges.
And it's also really smart to have a backup plan.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Because, like the Backstage article mentioned, a stunt career, when it comes to physical performance, has a limited lifespan.
That's true.
Just like athletes, you eventually reach a point where your body just can't take it anymore.
Yeah, it's tough.
But that doesn't mean it's the end of the road.
Right. You can do other things.
A lot of stunt performers transition into stunt coordination.
Yeah.
Like Chad Stahelski.
Yeah, where they're overseeing the stunts for a whole production.
Right. Others move into directing, acting, even teaching.
So many possibilities. It's all about finding that new way to stay involved in the industry.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think we've really covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From basic requirements to those super specialized skills.
So much info.
We talked about training options, safety protocols, different career paths, and even long-term considerations.
Yeah.
I think we did a really good deep dive into what it takes to become a stunt performer.
I think so, too. It was fascinating.
Yeah, it is. So now that we've gotten through it all, what stands out to you the most?
Okay. What stands out to me?
It's funny, we've talked about the training, the skills, the safety protocols, the different career paths, but I feel like there's something we haven't quite fully explored yet.
What do you mean?
It's almost like this hidden element to it all.
I think I know what you're getting at. We've talked about like the what and the how of stunt performing, but what about the why?
Yes, exactly. Like what is it that really drives someone to choose this path?
And I think even more specifically, what about that mental side of things?
Right.
We touched on it a little bit with that idea of emotional resilience, but I'm talking about those moments right before the action,
Yeah.
that fear, the doubt, the very real possibility that something could go wrong. How do they deal with that?
That's what fascinates me, because we're talking about real people putting themselves in real danger,
We are.
even when it's a controlled environment.
Oh, absolutely.
The mental fortitude required has got to be just as important as those physical skills.
Oh, for sure.
Imagine you're standing on a rooftop. You're rigged to wires, about to jump into the unknown. What is going through your head in those seconds before you take that leap?
That's a good question. I mean, it can't just be about the technical stuff, the safety protocols, the camera angles, the mechanics of the stunt.
No.
There has to be some deeper level of trust.
Yeah.
Trust in yourself, trust in your team, trust in your ability to execute everything perfectly.
And that's what I'm so curious about. How do they cultivate that kind of inner strength, that unwavering focus?
Right.
Especially when the stakes are so high.
It's almost like a form of meditation, isn't it?
Oh, that's interesting.
Being able to quiet that mental noise, the fear, the doubt, and just be completely present
Wow.
in that moment.
It's not just about the physical training, it's about mental training as well.
Oh, it's huge.
Conquering those internal barriers and finding the courage
Yeah,
to push beyond your comfort zone.
exactly.
So maybe that's something our listener can kind of dig into a little bit more.
Okay.
What are those mental exercises, the visualization techniques?
Yeah, one of the rituals.
The rituals that these professionals use to prepare.
Yeah, how do they get ready for these intense moments?
Because, the physical skills, those are just one part of the equation.
Yeah.
The other part is that mental game,
Yeah, being able to perform under pressure.
staying calm and collected
Right.
when the adrenaline is pumping.
Oh, for sure. And that's something that goes way beyond stunt performing.
It does.
I mean, whether you're an athlete, an artist, an entrepreneur, even just someone navigating everyday life,
Oh, yeah.
being able to manage your mental state, your focus, your energy, that's incredibly valuable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into the world of stunt performing,
Okay.
I think that's the challenge I want to leave with our listener.
What's that?
Explore that mental side.
Okay.
Dig a little deeper into the psychology of risk,
Yeah.
the power of visualization techniques for managing fear, anxiety.
Yeah.
It's a whole fascinating area to explore.
It is, and it's often in those hidden depths, in that unseen world of the mind,
Yeah.
that you find that true mastery.
It's about pushing those boundaries, but respecting your limits. It's about creating these breathtaking moments, but always prioritizing safety.
Exactly.
It's about finding that perfect balance between calculated risk and artistic expression.
I like that.
So if you're out there and you're listening and you're thinking about taking that leap into the world of stunt performing,
Okay.
do your research,
Yeah.
talk to the pros, start training, and most importantly, be honest with yourself about why you want this.
Right.
Are you truly ready to embrace the challenges that come with this incredible profession?
Because it's not easy.
It's not, but it is rewarding.
It is. And even if you decide that stunt performing isn't the right path for you, those skills and that mindset you develop along the way,
Yeah.
they'll be super valuable no matter where your path leads.
And that's a wrap.
Awesome.